Hey guys, Novus here, welcome back to From the Depths. So, just going to keep working on these guns. I've been working on here, so I'm going to rip this part off. This is meant to be a quick example. Okay, alright. So, what? That's right. One thing that can be a bit of a pain. Oh, we found it, thankfully. Okay. Yeah, so when you do that, like when you try to interact with the turret sometimes, and yeah, actually interacting with the turret, you'll sort of notice something will kind of still get destroyed, even though what you were clicking on didn't get. Yeah, something else on the ship did. Sometimes it's immediately apparent in front of you, like that one was. Sometimes it's way off deep in the middle of a battleship that has just decided to break something and it's like, oh no. So, yeah, just, I guess try to be careful with that. Okay, so 2 gauge increases. We're gonna sort of set this up a little bit differently. So what we can do, to be perfectly honest, go with that many gauge increases to actually get it up to a decent gauge. We're gonna need cooling though. So, what you can do, autoloaders, belt fed, could actually mimic what we just did a minute ago again. Essentially. Alright. Then we can have... We'd only need one of those. Jesus. I mean, there's other places, I guess, on the top of the deck that you could actually put more cooling vents if you really wanted to. But yeah, ain't gonna get much cooling vents in this. Okay, so yeah. With this... Yeah, just gonna do another quick example of this, and then move on to sort of laying it down in a ship instead of like sort of building it into the ship rather than turreting it. So you want your ammo input feeders on each side. So this should load it up fairly quickly. It's nothing worse than having to wait for ages for belt fed autoloaders to load up. Okay, so wait, they won't work. Alright. Another block beam 2 meters, whack it on the front. Do that real quick. Set the timer, whoops. Then, okay. Advanced firing piece. That's backwards. Alright, so all we need is 2 meter tall AA outlet. 236. Okay. So we've got 71. Alright, so we could go 70 mils. That would be fine. So desired gauge over here. We just drop that to 70. Let me set a firing speed real quick. Set it to like 300. Allow barrels to spin. Okay, so it's not willing to accept those. Hang on, let me go up to 71. Because we gotta still calibrate this side of it again. Come on. There we go. So that's 1420, so it needs to get cut down a bunch. Maybe over here. Alright. Damn it. There we go. Alright, so let's put hollow point head on that. Oh, there we go. That's exactly right. Okay, cool. So, back to this. Make it a tiny bit longer. Just for the sake of it. So yeah, this would take a very, very small amount of space in terms of width and length. Like it's just a simple 3x3 again. But it has had the height doubled, so 3x3x4. Which isn't half bad. It would take a lot more space up above deck, but I mean, being able to have these kinds of guns just interplaced inside your ship and so forth, it's taking up bare minimum space below deck, means you can sort of have other stuff around it and so forth. It also means you can have multiple air gaps, so they can be guns that, apart from the top being sheared off, which you can just kind of armor the top up a bunch, should be mostly impervious to being sniped out of the ship. So you could have multiple air gaps and layers of armor and so forth just because of the sheer tiny, tiny size of this thing. So in terms of space, I believe it should be able to move around in just that. I think. Maybe able to. Yeah. So, yeah, it doesn't waste any space whatsoever. Make it a perfect box. And then just cover it over the top. And then yeah, you have a if I can see. Have yourself a nice little boxed up turret. Just sort of sitting within your ship. It's fully loaded up already. 240 shells. So it really doesn't fire all that quickly, but it's very tiny. Its range would still be probably fairly terrible, to be perfectly honest. It's only got, yeah, it's only a very short one. 1260, so it's could be worse. I mean, it's not too bad. Let's go in here real quick. I mean, for dealing with enemy fighters and so forth, it's not too terrible. Yeah, it's not cooling down as quickly as would be preferred, of course, but yeah, it's not too bad. Now, can always do something different, so you go to overclocking and you can actually lose a bit of accuracy, get a bit more recoil, but in return actually start firing it a bit quicker. The only problem with recoil, with overclocking it, it can do some weird things. Maybe just set it up so that it'll just spray. Hang on. So it sounds like some of our loaders are already loading on that gun. But yeah, so that's just a tiny one. That's just if you do want to make a really tiny gun. So, damage they do isn't half bad. I mean, if you had a solid spray of these coming out, and you were hitting enemy flyers and so forth, you'd be shredding it. As demonstrated, to be perfectly honest, by... Let's get this one. I'm gonna immediately turn it off. So it doesn't try to go anywhere. But, yeah. I mean, this one is still loading, actually, I think. It's not shooting properly. Yes, it is. It's loading. Okay, I thought I had it saved with a fully loaded, but yeah, that's basically what this one does. Now, to have a look at the guts of this real quick, what I'll do is I'll rip the ship open. So, that needs to all go. Now this is the newer gun. So we've got a 3 meter mantlet, 3 over 3 meter mantlet sitting inside here in the nose. I just really wanted to have better ability to actually fire ahead of it, because having the 1 meter omni mantlet, it gives you no ability to move that gun around. Basically, it's fine if you've got like a really slow craft. It's actually perfect for that. It's just when you've got something that moves really quickly and its nose can kind of bounce left and right, up and down, and stuff like that, it's just, it kind of intermittently shoots, stops shooting, just like, yeah, no, it doesn't work that great. Also totally left those controllers in there, so I need to rip those out of the neural build as well at some point. Okay, so ripping all that out. Should have a fairly decent view of what's going on here. So it's just really tightly packed in, but it is not too different from what we had going on a minute ago. 2 length ammo racks instead. What I do usually prefer to do, this is not really any different from what I would have done with a turret. The difference being, I essentially would have tried to make it probably wider rather than taller, more often than not. And yeah, you'd actually have that coming out to the side or whatever. But it's not too different from the same kind of a setup if you picture the bottom was here and that was the top, and it was sort of standing up on its end. So what I've got going on here, I can actually shrink it down. It might make it a bit easier. Probably not. Alright, so I need to deal with this recoil absorber. Somebody did actually give me a tip about that, so I'll deal with that ASAP. The large ones are for larger guns, smaller ones for smaller guns, because the large ones, while they have huge capacity, have slower recharge rate. The smaller ones have a faster recharge rate, so they're better for spraying little shots out and so forth. So yeah, we've got... I didn't realize I did this. Okay, I thought it was set up differently. I was supposed to have 2 sets of ammo clips here and 2 sets of ammo clips here, and I think I've actually, when I built this, I was inside the ship and like doing all this on the fly. I think I've actually set it up with 1. Regardless though, okay. So the idea is you get 7 ammo, auto loaders, sorry, out of each row. This one's not even connected. Oh god, I've got mistakes all through this thing. Okay. Alright, so this still needs work, obviously. That's terrible, my bad. So, the design is essentially, you got your recoil absorbers along the top. You've got autoloaders along the bottom and both sides, and it gives you 7 autoloaders to a side. To a row, I guess you would call them. Usually 1 set of ammo clips, then an ammo intake will do, but the gun's not going to shoot for that long. So I want to try and squeeze in 2 ammo racks to an autoloader for this gun setup, so that way we can have double the number of shots at a time. Hasn't even had this one loaded up. That really saddens me, because it was the number of autoloaders we had running that was cutting down the speed of our shots from like 700 rounds per minute, I believe, on this gun. So we should be able to shoot faster now if that can get set up. So my bad, guys. What we've therefore got is 14 autoloaders running this thing at a time, which means with 13, seeing as that one wasn't functioning, you can get 650 rounds per minute out of a 71mm gauge. Now I could have dropped it down to the dead even 70, but 71 seemed fine enough. We're using the hollow points in this one as well, mainly because we're going to be hitting smaller vehicles, and being able to punch through that outer layer of armor before setting the explosive off means we can hit the internals. Hopefully detonate things inside the ship a lot easier. So what I've done is I've run the gauge increases all the way back to here. This is where the gauge increasing actually happens, just at the very back from what I remember. And then up the front here, these are all actually cooling vents. And then it converts over right around here into gauge increases. So if it does get hit in the nose, there's a good chance it should hopefully just lose the cooling vents, but at the same time, if it does, it may lose the autoloaders and ammo clips here, which means they would be unloaded, but we'd still have the rear set, so we could still fire at roughly half the rate. Like half our firepower would still be there. And the gauge shouldn't change. Although if the firing piece gets broken, then it's kind of just dead anyway. Yeah, so that's kind of just how I squeeze this gun in here. I am interested now, honestly, to see how quick it'll fire with the extra autoloader. I did have more space to be able to extend it further back, but as you can see, it genuinely does just sort of take up that little section there in the nose. The rest is all storage, ammo, all that sort of stuff. We've got a ton of space back here. To be perfectly honest, I had been considering setting up another smaller gun. And I know this huge jet thruster does give us quite a bit of speed. I kind of been... Okay, so I've been looking at it. If we go to heat, hang on, let me put thrusters up to full for one moment. If we go to heat, go to these different things. They got a little bit of heat on them. And see, we've got flares that will drop heat. There's flares that will try and draw things away from the ship, but of all the parts, that huge engine goes nuts. So I have a feeling, even with our flares, anything that's heat-seeking isn't actually going to drop off and grab the flares. They're actually going to stick to this huge jet engine. So I'm kind of contemplating, to be honest, ripping it out, feeding a barrel out through the back end here, and actually having another gun set up back here. And it wouldn't have much range of movement, but if something was dumb enough to jump in behind us and try and jump on our tail, it would be, like, rather than a 3x3 mantlet, it would be more your vertical, so to be a 3x1 mantlet. And, where is it? Yeah, 3 meter tall elevation mantlet is basically what I was thinking. So that would be what's sitting at the back there. And it would just feed a gun straight out through the back that could kind of go up and down and spray shots at anything that tries to drop in directly behind us to start damaging our thrusters, because that's what I've been doing to them. That's incredibly effective. I don't really want it done to us, so I'm kind of contemplating doing that, to be honest. So I'd throw that out there. Yeah, so might lay out some guns real quick, have another geese at something like this, just so you can get a bit of a better idea. But yeah, it's all there. Let's quickly have a gaze. It's still loading. Just gonna be loading for a long time. Alright, so we'll turn it off and we'll drop it back down on the ground fairly gently. There we go. Alright. Back over to this for a minute. Oh, well, okay. Alright, so advanced cannon. Advanced firing piece. So we'll just slap that there like that real quick. Just to give an idea. So we want our gauge cooling units reaching back. Then we hit up our gauge increases. Then you sort of split your left and right off. And you can also have a gauge increaser or two back there. So start slapping down your cooling units at the back. Now, another thing you can do is So you can kind of run them back and forth. You can actually sort of widen your gun out by doing this. So let's do this real quick. Okay, so let's say that's the space you had to work with. You then also, and this could be sort of sitting up in the air, it doesn't have to be flat on the ground. But we needed to be able to fire it at 650 rounds per minute. I believe it was 13? So that's 5. It's 10. We needed to go one more back, essentially. But yeah, regardless, we'll just sort of slap those 3 there. And that would give us the firepower we needed. Ammo clips. Whoops. So you could have it sort of set up like that, or if you really wanted to, another way it can totally be done is like this. You just want to have a single rack worth of ammo for each one. This can totally be done. And then all you'd need to do is from here, you can move this now, and you kind of want it to go that away, so spike that there for a sec. Grab that. That should work. That'd be fine. Alright. I'm going to put left right splitter there. Put this away. Alright. And then what you can totally do is have your input feeders set up like so. You can even have them sort of set up underneath it, so if you put this along like the bottom of your ship, you basically just need a 2-block space, and you could have, like, as risky as it is, your ammo intake's actually just sort of poking through the armor at the bottom. Or if it's 2 layers deep, you could sort of have like a single layer of armor taken out just underneath those loaders, and squeeze them in that way. But yeah, that would totally work. Yeah, like that. And then you can, so you remember as well, each time you increase the number of barrels, you decrease not just the current gauge, but the potential gauge. So 2 barrels can only go up to 250 millimeters. That's why my 500mm cannon that was sitting here was a single barrel. I had to get it to the point where its cooldown was low enough that it could keep shooting out that 500mm round over and over again. But this would be your 88mm cannon. They would be all set up and ready to go. I mean, that work? No. Okay, we'd actually have to calibrate it. But yeah, so the fire rate on this, I would say, I mean, you could get the 650 from just what's already there, but if we added those in, I mean, with the space we've got here, this isn't that large of a space. I mean, if you set up like a little naval unit or whatever to sort of roll around with this kind of sits somewhere sort of up, I guess, towards the center of the ship. And you could sort of have something like this set up, maybe sort of for forwards firepower. And you should pretty much be able to spray shots out with this. So we got 20 of these suckers going. It looks like that is actually willing to load those. Fair enough. I don't know if they're... Okay, I should have a look at them real quick. I don't know what they are. Maybe this one. So for the 88. And that's not too bad. God, they're tiny. They have like no explosive damage or anything. But that would spray shots out. You can just break this down and I can actually shoot that. This mantlet 3x3. There we go. Okay, let's set this to 1,000 rounds per minute. Likely still won't be quick enough. Alright, so that'll slowly load up. So that's just an example for how you can set it up. I mean, you could probably even do it better. But yeah, so you could probably put your cooling vents on the top and actually have your ammo clips and your autoloaders on the bottom, and sort of have these ammo intakes sort of sitting in the bottom of the vehicle here where it's not likely to get hit too often. It's up in the air, and then you can put it on the top instead. And yeah, it just sort of saves a bit more space by just having like your ammo intakes just sitting there, because it's not really a big issue if it's on a side that's not going to be getting hit. But at the same time, this is a good way to sort of get an idea, math it out, and get a measurement of exactly how many autoloaders you want, how many ammo clips you want, how many cooling vents you're going to need, and so forth, because we can start chopping away at these once we start actually firing the gun and find out how many rounds these, like this number of autoloaders can pass to the barrel at a time. I'm still on this. Oops. Actually, let's see, yeah, how fast does this thing fire with the extra autoloader? Let's take that up to like 750. Let's just check and see how that fires. Okay, so we should be able to fire a little bit faster. I mean, it's not quite right. Probably be about 700 or something along those lines, but still. Sprays out a pretty decent stream of shots. Alright, let's jump back over to this thing. Let's really quickly test out this gun. So, yeah, it's all just testing and back and forth and allow barrels to spin. And yeah, seeing how it goes. So you want to keep an eye on these barrels ahead of you. It's harder at these speeds. You want to see if the barrels are actually returning to where they should be. You can see they aren't. So that's slightly too high. Now you can also do it by math, so we got a cooldown of 0.12. So you can sort of math it out and figure out how many times per second that should be going off. 800, I think that would probably be more sufficient. Jesus, half emptied the clips already there. Looks about right. So yeah, that's how you sort of set up a Gatling gun. You can kind of just spray shots out. And these aren't too weak. I mean, they're kind of weak. It's 320 kinetic. These are currently using the thump heads, so I mean that's not really a great indicator of how much explosive damage they would have stock standard. So if I was to, hang on, there we go. Let's just change the head for a second. So we got 206 explosive damage, essentially, potential. If I was to go to the HE head. So we're going to be doing 250 explosive damage and 403 kinetic. Could even give it like flak. At that point, actually, we could even go. Yeah, we could go frag warheads and a frag head. And instead of the inertial fuse, we could give it a timed fuse. Still have 1500 meters range, 40 fragments and 157 damage. 40 fragments of every round. I mean, this thing empties, what is it, like, it was like 600 rounds or whatever it was. It just absolutely emptied them. Yeah. So that'd absolutely shrapnel some ships out of the sky, I'd say. Yeah, so I'll probably do maybe some more episodes where I muck around with 2 meter, 4 meter, 6 meter, and 8 meter what do you call them? Autoloaders and racks and so forth, and just sort of how to do different weapons with that. I'd even actually had a plan where I'd kind of considered putting, in all honesty, I'd kind of considered putting a couple of longer autoloaders into this ship, because we've got space to move stuff back. Now, if I wanted the rear gun, this wouldn't really be doable, I don't think. But without the rear gun, I could move that stuff back and basically just put in 6 8 meters, like for the autoloaders. Not worry about racks, put feeders straight onto them, and just be occasionally shooting, you know, 6 like 500 mil shots out of the front of the ship. I'm just curious as to how far backwards it would go every time it fired. So 480 rounds, and with it being, you know, flak based and shooting at these speeds, I mean, that'd be a lot of shrapnel. Just so we get an idea. Oh no, that's still shooting the thumb. Okay. So it hasn't made it to the shrapnel shots yet. But it wouldn't take long. Yep, I think that'd be that. Coming out now. So should hopefully see in a second just a crap ton of shrapnel start spraying around. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that'll be alright. So, I'm actually thinking I might muck around a bit with that. Setting up a shrapnel gatling gun. Timed fuse. And it would just sort of spray shots at the enemy. That could be useful even. Yeah, I think I might actually have a good look at doing that with the new battleship that I've been working on, and somewhere around there. Yeah, maybe see if I can set up some AA guns where it works on these shrapnel shots, timed shrapnel shots, just spraying them out as quickly as we can and just get as much shrapnel in the air as we humanly can, and give that a go. So yeah, that's it for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope this maybe gave you a couple of ideas for things you can do with the guns and so forth, and yeah, hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one, guys.